You know what? I was talking to Shannon Lee, who I grew up with, Uncle Bruce's daughter, and the question came up. She was asking me, I mean, with Uncle Bruce, if he was still here with us, he would have wanted to try researching, almost like the way Dr. Bob Ward from the Dallas Cowboys does this, about age. The relationship of aging, and I think that's something in the martial arts world that we kind of don't want to talk about, but it's always there because we all age.
When Bruce Lee was alive, the greatest fear he had was growing old.
Yeah, I remember
And so
that.
I think, I'm 79 now, so I think the key thing is you have to learn how to train it every decade. So when you're 40, your body's different. If you don't train properly, you can train hard, but you have to train intelligently. So when you're 40, it's different. So you have to adapt your training when you hit 40s. When you get in the 50s, I think you have to adapt your training. That's the intensity of your training, the duration of that intensity, and how to have rest. Well, I think what people don't realize too, that rest is important. You can have a hard workout one day, but I think you need the rehab. If you don't do the rehab, I think then your body's not going to be able to sustain the drive. You can train hard when you hit to the 50s. When I got to the 50s, my body changed. I was getting little injuries there, and then you learn problem solving, because everybody, in my opinion, is your teacher. So they teach you how to, I think my father, your grandfather, said the same thing. He says, your toughest opponent will be age.
Oh, that's
so
very
toughest opponent
profound.
is
My
age.
grandpa said that.
That you have to know how to train your body when you hit 60. When I hit 60s, again, you can get different type of injuries. So you have to know how to train the body in the 60s, and then as I got into the 70s, my body was different again. You can have still an intense workout, but you need the rehab. And what I mean by the rehab work is if you have a hard workout of 1 hour, then you should have the same thing in the rehab. The rehab could be anything from a massage, foam roller, a stretching, stability ball, but you definitely need body work. If you don't have body work, then you should have some sort of therapy, maybe a water therapy. I think that's all good. I think if I had so many good people help me along in that helped me along to get when I got into the 60s and when I got in the 70s, and hopefully
now you're going to be 80 in a couple of months.
In 3 months, I think
You're turning 80.
I'll be 80. But and it's hard because you can see friends. Some of your friends will disappear when you're 60.
Yeah.
Somebody will disappear when you're 70. I had friends I lost when they're 50. So I think it's important that you know how to train the body. And I think everybody is your teacher, because my students have been so good to me. They've taught me how to do the rehab, and you need it. So if you have an hour of workout, then you should have an hour of rehab, particularly when you hit the 60s. And even in the 50s, I think that's really good. You need body work, some sort of body work. It could be anything from, NIT or ART, deep tissue massage, Rolfing. I think that's necessary. Or if you can't afford it, just learn how to roll on a foam roller, because I think that's so essential for the body. Because you'll want to work out, but your bodies will get all these different injuries.
And I think too, we talked about like yoga, because Grandpa and Grandma both. I mean, my grandfather lived to be almost 101, and Grandma was also an amazing.
He was smart.
shape.
He did yoga, but I didn't understand it at that time. I didn't know what a down dog was, so I thought his push-up position was terrible. And then he did this arch forward, he did this cobra, and I go, oh my gosh, that's a terrible position too, because I never saw a cobra before. And he was into that, and I didn't know what he was. He said, come on, exercise with me. But at that time, he'd go to these silly postures, which I now recognize as Warrior 1, Warrior 2, Warrior 3 postures. But my father did that, but I didn't understand that at that time, because I was the one. I thought he was the one who was uneducated, because when he did a cobra, I thought that's a terrible push-up position.
That old wisdom from thousands of years ago.
And down dog, I thought that's a terrible position.
Yeah, dog, down dog, yeah.
And I didn't understand still postures at that time period, but he was way ahead of the game.
Yeah.
But I highly recommend people to get the rehab,